YSLAR, which is Wisconsin's local redistricting software solution. Usually, I'm here speaking later on. Will be legislative reference bureau to talk more about the process, and usually we kind of go in a different order. But I'll talk to you about the software first, and I'll kind of glance over some of the processes a little bit. But I'll leave most of that to some smarter folks than me later on. Okay, as Colleen said, I'm Ryan Squires. I'm the GIS manager. I'm also a developer at LTSB, Nonpartisan Service Bureau of the Wisconsin Legislature. The team serves a bunch of purposes, but one of them is local legislative and congressional redistricting. So YSLAR is something that LTSB produced. This is the third time we produced it from scratch again, the third decade, I should say. It is a web application. It sits on a platform we put out called YSDecade. YSDecade is a platform for counties to use to submit things like parcels, wards, municipal boundaries, county supervisory, supervisory districts too. What else did they submit? Parcels, yeah, I said that. School districts, yeah, I said that already. Anyway, so this sits on top of the YSDecade platform, YSLAR. It's for drafting of county supervisory districts, municipal ward plans, and aldermanic plans. It uses it will use the recent release of the 2020 U.S. Census, and then is built around Wisconsin state statutes and local redistricting laws. So as background, I guess this is a wider audience. So usually we're talking to a specific group of people, but generally YSLAR is used by municipal clerks, county clerks, land information officers, anybody working at the municipal or county level of government. So it's for government use only, not for public use. I got to remember the context of who I'm speaking to. So YSLAR is it's basically two parts. It's a YSLAR administrator, which is kind of it's a system to help guide the county through the YSLAR process, or the local redistricting process. There's some phases I'll talk about in a second, but it kind of steps the county through it to keep all coordinated together. It's also how you launch your plans and share plans and create new plans. The second part is the YSLAR editor, which is the actual map portion of the application where you get to actually draw wards or county supervisory districts or aldermanic districts. So as a kind of a high level background of kind of what we're talking about here, local districting isn't drawing lines arbitrarily across municipalities and counties. What we're actually doing is grouping US Census blocks. And a colleague of ours, Dan Vera from the APL, does a great explanation of what a block is, but I'll try to paraphrase. It's basically a US city block or any kind of physical or even non-physical, if it's a political boundary or such, a bounded feature that'll contain, anywhere usually around an average of 100 people and demographic information about those people. It's the lowest level of geography, even the smallest geography that's is enumerated by the U.S. Census and is required then by Wisconsin state statutes to use in our redistricting process. So generally, county supervisory districts and municipal wards are created by grouping U.S. Census Tiger block geography, which is what's partnering with that districting data set known as the PL 94-171 data set. So that's what's been delayed. And it's kind of been in the news a little bit recently. Usually that data will be arriving technically any day now, as of right now, till April 1st. But now it has been delayed, and that window, which is usually February 1st to March 31st, has been pushed back to August 1st to September 30th. So what we'll talk about now in the process, all that process just shifts with that time delay. So the process will not begin until the data has actually been delivered. So everyone still has the same amount of time to do redistricting. Oh, I thought I hit all these slides, but you know what? I'm just being a little different today. Usually I kind of do this by slides, but I'm actually going to do this kind of live. I thought I'd actually hidden those slides already, but I have not. So that's okay. We'll kick out of here. Just to mix things up a little bit with maybe more GIS friendly people. Okay, so this is WISE Decade. This is that platform I spoke of. So the plan, I guess, for the rest of the time here is for me to speak about the software while using it in a live capacity. So live demos are always live demos. So I apologize for anything in advance, but it should be good to go. If you're a county or municipal employee, please let us know if you haven't received the credentials for kind of open training time we have right now. Outside of these workshops, we allow people to sign into the system whenever they would like to just kind of practice with it, play with it, see how it works, read the documentation and whatnot. So please let us know. You can email us, you can see the screen, gis@legis.wisconsin.gov, or if you message anybody in the chat window with LTSB in their name, or if even your moderator, Colleen, they'll be able to help you out with that too. So today I'm going to use Grant County as my guinea pig. So each county is issued a set of credentials that lets them log into the county. It's meant to be shared. So the emails are actually sent to the LIOs, the municipal clerks and county clerks, but they'll usually pass it to their staff, their GIS staff, and maybe a county supervisor or somebody in the town board that would like to get involved in the actual drawing process. They have that option. And the process kind of looks like this. So this is the YSLAR administrator. Generally, redistricting has three phases. Redistricting has three phases for locals: the drafting of supervisory districts, the drafting of municipal wards, and then reconciliation between supervisory districts and those wards. Each of these phases is 60 days, but that's a 60-day limit, not a minimum. So when phase one ends, that day is the day that phase two begins, or stage two begins. When stage two ends, that's the day that stage three begins. So if the county is super efficient and only takes a day to draw supervisory districts, and we start on my little screenshot example here, which is totally fictional, by the way. These dates are just totally made up. February 18th would be when the municipalities would have to start drafting. And then they have 60 days to draft it. You'll see two extra icons on there. The confirmed block lines and aldermanic districts. And I'll talk about the confirmed block lines right now a little further, but aldermanic districts are drawn by grouping wards together. So supervisory districts and municipal wards are drawn by grouping US Census block geography. And then aldermanic districts are kind of an extra sidestep here that once municipal wards are created, they can be grouped to create aldermanic districts. They are usually done in phase three, but can be done basically any time that the wards are completed by the municipality, as long as they're cognizant of the fact that if something were to happen in the reconciliation phase, which is the phase where wards or supervisory districts will have to be altered in order for them to nest perfectly within each other. If anything happens to those wards, the aldermanic plans created before that time would no longer be valid. So just a caveat, but it can be done really at any point once wards are created. And then at stage zero here is the confirmation of block boundaries. So part of the WISE Decade system and part of what we've been working on at LTSB is relaying and collecting data and facilitating the CBAS program, which is a program through the US Census Bureau. It's a program that the US Census Bureau uses to update their internal geography and the tiger geography. So every 6 months, now by state statute, land information officers from every county submit their municipal wards and thereby their municipal boundaries that are enumerated by the county supervisory districts to LTSB. And we relay that once a year through the BAS program to US Census Bureau. And then the WISE Decade also facilitates the documentation and the filtering stage and makes all the changes for it. So it's all an automated process now. So all that to say now that the tiger geography is in the system and it's all been updated and should be updated as of January 1st to 2020. So what that means is that when we see this geography for the first time, it should be pretty close to how reality is, because we've been updating it and everyone's working very hard to collectively throughout the state to make sure this geography is going to be accurate this time around. If you're around 10 years ago, you'll see how many issues everybody had drawing because the geography was so far away from reality. So we'll still be missing annexations and incorporations then from anything that happened basically from January 1st, 2020, all the way until whenever district actually starts. And this is the phase to kind of update that. So the land information officer will come in ahead of time and split the U.S. Census geography or reassign the U.S. Census geography blocks to the municipalities they properly belong in. Every land information officer is given a confirmation code to identify this person is the land information officer. Obviously we have a lot of people accessing the system, and we want to make sure we identify certain people that have certain roles. So municipal clerks, county clerks, land information officers all receive confirmation codes that say you are you, and they have certain powers within the system to approve or deny municipal administrative powers within the system. So I've kind of cooking show style already run this, but what would happen in reality? Redistricting has started. We've released the PL 94-171 data. I'm the Grant County Land Information Officer. I need to come in really quick to, not quick, but as fast as I can, to come in and confirm this U.S. Census geography is what we should be drawing plans on, and has anything that's missing, any missing incorporations, any missing annexations, any majorly egregious boundaries are corrected, errors are corrected. So what I did was I said, hey, I uploaded my CBAS data already to YSDecade earlier. I'm just gonna go ahead and initiate the split with that. I'll enter my confirmation code right here, and then enter, click right here to initiate the split. It takes about half an hour for a county the size like Dane County, maybe 5 to 10 minutes for something as small as Kewaunee. And then I'll get an email as the land information officer telling me it's been completed and the process of these block splits is completed. But I'm not done yet because we have, there's conflationary errors. The U.S. Census Bureau snaps their boundaries. There's going to be slight differences between my GIS and their GIS. So what we do now is actually confirm and verify when that splits should actually be taking place. The system does a good job of automating a tolerance where sliver blocks should not be created inadvertently. But there's also a need to also separate demographics. So if I'm dividing U.S. Census blocks and allocating part or all of it to a new municipality, there's demographics, population attached to those blocks. I need to make sure that I'm assigning the correct people to the correct municipalities so they end up in the right wards, supervisory districts. All right, so this has been split and created. I'm gonna jump in here and look at what it actually looks like. So I have my special code that identifies me as an LIO. I'm gonna go ahead and review and verify those block splits. It should pop this open. And it's gonna look, a lot of these are gonna look kind of ugly. What this is saying is, as soon as my little wheel goes away, go away wheel. Ignore wheel, I guess. There you go. So this block right here, this yellow area, plus this little red area right here, those two combined equal one U.S. Census block. That block has a total of 13 people in it. And according to where my line, which is, you can kind of see in green right there, and the U.S. Census line, which is in blue, we have a small difference that would result in part of this block being a new municipality. In this case, I can see that this is just like a road easement and nothing that actually affects population. It would have no effect whatsoever on how we would draw wards or any population in the future. This is just a conflationary geometry difference that has no real effect on anything. So what I would do as LIO is I would say, no, I don't want to actually split this. I'll click reject. Every single one of these is rejected by default. The only reason to reject it is just for these filters, basically, where I can start saying, I don't even want to see the ones I've rejected or not, or I verified them or I haven't even looked at them yet. Grant County has about 78, you can see right here, splits between what's current as of the last submission to us, which was, I believe, in July. And this geometry, I did like Adams County, I saw like 5 differences. If you were taking part of our pilot, you saw like thousands of differences, but that's because you were comparing your geometry to something from 2011. So hopefully there won't be that many to paste through, but basically the system's designed to kind of ride this reject button through here and say, yeah, okay, this is another conflationary error, whatever. I'll just hit reject. It's going to zoom out to the next one. Might refresh, it's a little slow, but you can see a lot of these will be in this case. And I can zoom out and click on different ones. I can navigate this by actual navigation if I'd like to. I think it's based on behavior I've seen people in the past. They tend to like to pace through these to actually make sure they hit them all and everything. But let's say hypothetically, this block, because it has a little polygon right here I can actually see, let's say this was a municipality, and this is not, obviously, it's a little piece of road. But let's say there was people, I just verified this one. Let's say there's people living right here, in a house right here, and a house right here. So I have a difference right now between my town of Bloomington and the village of Bloomington, or the village of Bagley, I'm sorry. Mislabeling here, looks like. So the village of Bagley is going to be, has 11 people total in this block. And I see that I have one house right here. And I can allocate some people to it and say, okay, yeah, 2 people. They're both adults living, everybody in this block actually is all adults. Living in that town, I can click verify, and it verifies it. So when I actually post-process this and click submit final block edits, it'll actually split that geometry in what they actually can draw in. As you go around here, you'll run into different cases. They're pretty straightforward usually, based on what I've seen so far. The annexations look like pretty obvious annexations. The conflationary errors tend to look pretty obviously like conflationary errors. And it'll save all your edits too as you're verifying and rejecting. You can add in the parcels if you'd like in here too, to see the current parcel layer and how that compares and what the block is actually comprised of. Street maps here, and also the PDFs, the help PDFs are right here. So let's say I go through here and I verify and reject a bunch of them, and I say, yeah, this is great. You know, this block actually consists of this many people. By the way, these numbers are not balanced by themselves. I'll make sure that it always makes sense. You don't have more people of a race that is over 18 that actually exists in the block, for instance. So once I finish, I'll click submit final block edits, and that runs about 10-minute process that actually cuts the actual US Census blocks we see. And if I go back to the admin, and I click up here to this button, I can see how that comes out, and then verify. Yes, I'm the LIO. This geometry is how we want to draw. Let's just use this one. Then I'd enter my code here and say confirming block geometry. Confirm. Yes, go ahead. And then what I did is actually send an email to all the municipal clerks and land information, the county clerk, and everybody else who's in the system, to alert them that they can start drawing plans now. The clock that starts this process begins the same time this process is available. And that's because you require the PL 94-171 data to divide those blocks. You need the demographics, and the day that's released is also the day that redistricting starts. So statutes don't allocate for this time to correct that geometry, so you have to get in there quickly so that way people can start drawing plans as soon as they can. Because as you said, you only have 60 days to draw here. So once we're drawing supervisory districts, I can see that I'm in Grant County. I can see who the county clerk is, but anybody in the county level is interested in drawing can draw in this system. State statutes dictate the total maximum number of supervisors a county can have, but it will default to what they currently have in their system. I can create a new plan. I can load an existing plan. If I load an existing plan, I can forget my password. It's all password protected. I can delete my plan. But in our case, I'll just go ahead and create a new one. I'll say my demo. I'm going to give my actual email address because it's how I recover my password, and it's also how I receive data from the system if I want to export things out. Then I have some options of how I want to start that plan. I can start it as a blank plan. Everything started at 0. I can start at what's currently enacted. So the new geometry would be enumerated with how the supervisors are as of February 18th, 2021, or I can start it as an existing plan. If it's shared, I don't need a password. I can just start as what that is. If it's not shared, I have to have a password for that plan. So if, for instance, if I create a plan, and I think this is great, this is an awesome plan for 17 supervisors, but I want to try some other ones for maybe 18 supervisors. I don't want to start from scratch again. What I can do is just stop there, come out, make a new plan and say my demo with 18, and then create, and it started as my other plan. So it starts at least as that state. It's basically duplicating it for you. But I don't want to share it with anybody else yet, so I can keep it password protected. I just have to enter the password for my old plan called test in this case to duplicate it and use it as a base. In our example here today, I'm going to use what's currently on the ground today. Click create. It's gonna take a second while it throws all those services on. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom into the plat layers so we can actually consume a little bit of this geography. I'll turn some things off. Okay, so this is the system for drawing the plans. It's just a basic GIS system. There's some tools on the left and an attribute table on the bottom and a map in the middle. So the way this works is I just go tool by tool here. It's an identify tools. You can see some blocks. I will try not to go too laboriously into this, but the opacity stuff, so you can thicken this up so you can just see, you don't have to see through it all the way. Assignment tools, let's see. Assigning is a simple drag and dropping. So if I drag it like this, I'll get some polygons here in a second. The larger the county, the longer the refresh time, but we shouldn't ever see more than a 4-second maybe delay at the worst time of day with Dane County. So if it's any more larger for blink than that, then let us know, because it's might be something wrong with our scaling. So kind of useful feature in here is drawing as currently enacted wards. So you'll see I turned that on, and let me just turn this opacity way down so you can see. These fuchsia pink lines turned on. So those are the wards that are currently enacted on the ground. And let's say I'm drawing a supervisory district plan. What I can use is what's currently enacted and just kind of like, it assigns all the blocks in that ward. So let me turn it up again. And so if I assign any block in this area, the entire ward, all the blocks comprising of that ward will be assigned to that district. So I'd like that. All those guys in orange should be in this upper right, all the way around here. Looks like I should right here. We're assigned to one. This is actually a different district. I can see this different color, which is a good example of why to use this shuffle colors button. It toggles all the colors in the map at once. It happens actually more often than you would think, where colors that are similar end up next to each other. Like these two districts are two different districts, and it looks the same to me. So it just kind of toggles things quickly. They have an option to assign by region. So if I'm entire municipality to a supervisory district, I can do that. I can merge and switch district numbers around, clearing plans and toggling locks. Locks work by just locking a district and then being able to assign anywhere else in the district, and it'll not assign basically right there. So I try to lock the district I was just assigning. Here, change this one. So I can go like that, and I can assign things without accidentally assigning things. What else do I want to show here? District counts. So I can change district counts if I'd like to. So if I am playing with a plan and I would just like to see, okay, I want to start over with a different plan number, district count, you can change it right here. The statistic scores here, the compactness scores, are the Polsby-Popper, Schwartzberg, and area convex hull ratio. So you'll see this column here of compactness. Compactness is a bigger deal. So supervisory, supervisory districts do fall under the rules of compactness, but it's a bigger deal kind of at a larger district level. But the scores are available here to you. So there's no one score that says this is the score to use. You have to use this guy. By courts is what definition of compactness is. But these are the three more popular algorithms. Polsby-Popper, Schwartzberg, and area convex hull. Polsby-Popper and Schwartzberg measure a ratio for how close that geometry is to a circle, whereas the area convex hull ratio basically measures the difference between the ratio between a polygon and the convex version of that same polygon. And all scores between 0 and 1. And if you switch between here, it'll automatically update the scores as you're drawing. So you can see how those are being affected. The other score here, the other geometry attribute in here is the contiguous. So what this does is if it's non-contiguous, meaning a polygon in the assigned is not sharing any kind of border with all the rest of the polygons within that supervisory district. So in this case, this single block right here was erroneously assigned to District 2 and is not obviously physically connected to the rest of District 2. As a side note here, corner to corner or checkerboard style connections are not legal contiguous areas in Wisconsin. So they had to actually share a border with each other. So this is a nice tool to help find where you might have accidentally assigned a boundary you didn't mean to, or I'm sorry, a block that was not meant to be assigned there. So I think this is District 1 around me. So let me assign it District 1 and see if that goes away. Oh no, wait, I need to actually unlock in District 1, I'm sorry. Uh-oh, we have an error. That's okay. There we go. And we got rid of our true false. So it's contiguous now. Same thing, District 4. I can see a little polygon right here. I think this is District 1 again. Let's see. It is. So if I assign this District 1, so it's no longer attached to District 4, that false button should go away, which it did. Great. I sent it to District 2 by accident, but that's okay. Same principle. So District 4 is now discontiguous. You'll see the deviation button, deviation columns here are going red because I assigned up 35% deviation on this population. Deviation is the number of districts divided by the total population of the county. So the ideal is somewhere around, let's see, it's what, 3012 math? Yeah, 3012 would be the ideal. So I'm 1,000 people past that ideal, therefore 35% deviation. You'll find out more from the LRB's presentation about how a 10% deviation is ideal. So it starts going red at that point. It won't stop you from approving plans that might go outside that deviation, but it will just warn you that you're kind of getting into some unsafe territory, if you will. These are all sortable columns. If you hover over a piece of a column, it'll tell you that, like this right here, it says that 3.9% of the Hispanic population is within this district. 39.6% of the Black population is within this district. If I'm hovering over through here. Labels, and let me turn off this guy right here. So some of these layers out of here. Let me zoom in a little bit too. Layers and labels, we have some standard built-in reference layers, current supervisory, current legislative, current congressional, current school districts. We have the ability to add your own map feature services or map services. So if you have something, a data incumbents or whatever you want to add in there, they can do that and label it however you'd like to. It's native symbology, so however the service is symbolized, it'll come in. This I'll show you in a second with ward maps, but it's basically comparing the difference between the two plans. Unassigned. So if you're starting from scratch, this is kind of this was requested actually during our pilot, is to summarize what's left. So if I'm assigning across a county, I want to see the summary of demographics of populations that are still remaining. I can click this button really quick and see what's left. Combinations kind of more useful at the ward level when I'm thinking about grouping. How my wards could be grouped to create supervisory districts, or how they could be grouped to create aldermanic districts. You kind of just type in 1 to 3, 6, and then click summarize, and then you get a little population summary. And this guy is just demographics overlays. Let me zoom in just for rendering sake. And I'll turn on a field, and this just says on the fly demographics. I'm normalized by people, so you have holes coming through with a zero population. But you can kind of turn this up a little bit and see kind of where that is if you're looking for areas of communities of interest. And this is the share column. So the system is really meant for sharing plans with each other and also sharing plans with like your town board. Let's say you're having on a Zoom meeting or something where you have 19 supervisors all in their own houses and you're drawing and they're all wanting to put input in. They can open up these shared viewers and have access to all the same tools that are right here, minus the assignment tools. I can see how your GIS person's drawing things and input live, I guess. This public, so let's look at the share plan. This public share will open up, and this URL changes every time you toggle the share on and off. But it'll be available if you want to send it out to people. The private share URL does not change, and it will be available to anybody who's an unshared plan. So if you're working with a small group and not ready to share everybody else, you want somebody to see your plan without being able to edit it. It's a nice read-only share viewer. And again, they can look at all the same analysis tools you can in this application. Exporting. So if you want to export out, there's one turned off right now that I will turn back on, which is export to PDF maps. So it'll make a generate a map of your whatever district you're drawing. Export to CSV, so block lists, GIS files, and it also imports those same files back in. So if you want to take it out to a GIS person and back in from a GIS person, you can do that. Importing shared plans. So if it's a shared plan, you can import it in or write what you're doing. So I'm talking fast, but that's kind of all the editor. And of course, by the way, if anybody has questions, go ahead and enter in the chat and I'll be happy to stop at any point and talk about anything. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, you know what, that plan I just drew was fantastic. We just passed it at the county board. We made an ordinance and we're going to use that plan as the plan to use as part of phase one. So phase one is the drafting of tentative supervisory districts. They're tentative because they're not the permanent ones yet, because we'll have to figure that out, how they work with municipal wards that are on. So this is our first 60 days, our county. We decided this is the county supervisory districts we want to pass as our tentative supervisory districts. We passed it with a board meeting, and there was the ID, and then here is my county clerk's confirmation code. They're confirming that this is the supervisory district we passed. That alerted every municipal clerk in the county that the plan has been passed. They can view it right here if they'd like to, in a read-only viewer. But now they have to come in and draw wards. Municipalities do not have to follow necessarily whatever the county has drawn. Ultimately, every ward can only exist in one supervisory district. But if they disagree with those boundaries, this is the opportunity for them to do that. They're supposed to make a best intent or best effort to follow the lines set forth by the county, but if they disagree, that's possible now. So municipalities, anybody who has over 1,000 people will have to draw wards. Any municipality that's divided by a legislative boundary or a congressional boundary or a supervisory boundary will eventually have to draw wards, even if they have less than 1,000 people. They won't have to do it quite yet, not at this stage. So let's say that I'm the, well, I should talk about this for a second. So a municipality would sign in here and then they would select which municipality they are and create a plan. They could also scroll down here further and see the status of other municipalities in their county. And this would also be very useful for the county to see kind of how we're working our way through the system. If you look at, the village of Bagley here has less than 1,000 people. The supervisory district plan that was passed in stage one does not divide it in any way. So they're not required at all. Whereas if I scroll down to the town of Boscobel here, they do have less than 1,000 people still, but it's turned yellow, which means they're still not required, but just warning you that they were divided by what was passed in stage one. So they don't have to do anything just yet, but in stage three, it will have to be addressed because either the town will have to pass a ward plan to follow the lines that were set forth by the supervisory districts, or the county will have to change the supervisory districts so they don't divide up the town. But they're not required just yet. City of Boscobel, however, has more than 1,000 people and is required to pass a ward plan at this time. Once all the ward plans are submitted and created, stage two will automatically end and kick over to stage three, which is the reconciliation between those two plans. I'll quickly create a plan here for City of Platteville. Just to show you the small differences between them, but it's generally the same thing as the drafting of supervisory districts as far as from the software point of view, other than a single column and a small bell and whistle. Well, it's valid analytical tool. I shouldn't call it just a bell and whistle. Same options, start is currently enacted. So the green lines are what was passed by the county, so I can see what they've done. The big difference between the ward drawing and the supervisory is that the size of your ward is dependent on the total population of your municipality. It can be anything for this, in this case, this municipality dictates that it can be between 600 and 2,100 people. So this is a flexible range. It's a larger numbers. If it's a larger municipality, the range becomes larger as municipality becomes larger as well. But it'll show up in here now as the column instead of deviation. The reason is that all these wards are supposed to be between these, hopefully. There's one ward that does deviate out of it, and I'll get to that in a second, but there's a deviation column in here. It's just fine to have a ward at 600 people or 2,100 people. It doesn't matter. There's no, they're not election districts by themselves. They are wards, so they don't necessarily have to follow the balance of populations. Ward 9 here has 20 people, and I can see it's over disconnected. And it's not because it's leapfrogged as why it's its own ward. It's its own ward because it's been divided into different supervisory districts. So I can see supervisory 15 is by itself over here, and I just approved basically what was already done. So I'm assuming why this was done in the first place. And over here, this is supervisory district 13. If a municipality has a leapfrog annexation or a town island, or municipal islands are called, either physically or like as an actual island, or like this where it's just a geographic island or a political line island, it can be part of the same ward or supervisory district as the main municipality, as long as it's not divided by a supervisory line. In this case, it was, so this ward had to exist as its own ward. If this line was not here, and let's say that this area right here where District 8 is, and this was in the same supervisory district, then this polygon could be as part of Ward 8 here. And if the municipality felt strongly they wanted to make that happen, they could suggest it at this time, and then it's something, a place where they could negotiate about that. Let's see. So the other thing is that this won't stop you too. So there are edge cases where this is required, where it'll be outside of that ballot range, and the system will not stop you from submitting those. It'll just warn you that that's happening. This analysis tools, let's see if I have any conflicts. I don't have any. Let me introduce some. So I can see right here, it's a good example. Let me toggle this really quick. You can see this a little better. Here we go. So Ward 5, right? It's still colors, not many of colors in the world. There we go. This Ward 5 right here, it only has a point connectivity, so which is not allowed. So it's why it's showing it's discontiguous. So if I click on 5, and I assign that guy. Oops, where do I not assign him? There we go. It should go away as not. Yep. So it's true contiguous now, but it'll be a conflict because Ward 5 now exists in Supervisory District 12 and Supervisory District 11. If I go back to analysis, click compare, it'll show me those two parts. If I click on one of them, it'll zoom to the piece that belongs to. So 5-11 combo, it zoomed to this block, which only exists in 5-11. If I zoom to this, it zooms to the combination of 5-12 to 5-12. Again, this is where the combination would be more handy. So I'm thinking about the supervisory districts, and I want to just add them together. It's a quick calculator. Otherwise, this is the same functionality as in supervisory districts. So I like that ward plan. I'm going to go ahead and prove it. We passed it as an ordinance. Here's the ordinance we passed it in. I'm the GIS guy. I actually did this. I'm not the municipal clerk, but municipal clerk gave me their email information stuff. So I'm going to just enter my information because I'm actually the one that approved this for them. Or sometimes it'll be the land information officer doing this. My code, confirm ward plan. Great. So if I scroll down here to plat fill, there you are. It's green, and yeah, anybody can view it. So if I'm the county, I can see what they did, and I had a little note here just so everybody knows. It's conflicting, which is just fine right now in stage 2. It's still green, you're complete. But just note you're conflicting the plan, and that's what stage 3 is for. So once all those municipalities are done that are requiring ward plans, they'll click over here, and stage 3 is about the reconciliation between what was passed in stage 2 and stage 1. So then there's all these statuses that come up, and the municipality will have to come back to stage 2, submit a new ward plan for this update, or the county will have to seed ground and submit a new supervisory district plan. And once that happens, all these will turn green once they have a valid ward plan with the supervisory districts, and the county clerk can submit their final confirmation code to submit their wards and supervisory districts to the legislature. And then aldermanic districts are drawn the same way you draw any other plan, create a new plan, and you can do this as soon as your ward plan is passed at stage 2. You also notice here that these dates updated. So supervisors, we did it in one day, and my new 60-day clock started right here. So I only have now till the February 19th to, April 19th to complete this process. That pretty much ends up my demo. Are there any questions?
Ryan, I got one direct question right now.
Yeah.
With the delay, will counties still be submitting their wards in March, or will that be delayed until August, September?
Yeah, we were trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So we were trying to, for stage 0, we were trying to collect your municipality or your municipal boundaries as close to redistricting as possible, which is supposed to be, like end of March. So we're trying to get it for the actual BAS program to send to the census and get it for this process. Obviously, it got delayed, but we still want to submit to BAS. So we're still going to collect in March. They granted us an extension originally to let us even submit this late. So unfortunately, we are still going to have to submit. But you can submit at any time. So you can see I'm already in stage 1, 2. You can choose other CTV boundaries and then add those on later on. So you always submit in March, but you have the opportunity then to submit again later on. And let's say we do this in August, you can submit then as well.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Will you push back the July submittal?
There will be no July submittal in 2021. So years ending in 1, there's no July submission because you're drawing the wards right now.
Thank you. Yes, we will post contact information for you. And Ryan, perhaps you and the team could stick around. And if there's more questions at the very end, we can keep the meeting open.